good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. This is Take Two Radio. I'm Pam, your host, with Barking Dog. And no, that's not my co-host. My co-host is actually Dawn. Welcome, Dawn.
Hi, I thought you were introducing me as a barking dog. I was like, wow, maybe she's trying to say I talk too much or something. I don't know.
No. Right when we went live, the dog starts barking, of course. You know how that goes.
Well, if it's any consolation, I did not hear the dogs barking, so therefore that was the reason why I thought you maybe were directing that at me. But, I mean, my gosh, I didn't even co-host with you last night. So it's like, oh, geez, welcome back, Dawn. No, I'm just picking at you. I hope you're doing good today, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Thanks for joining me tonight. I know Jay was going to do it, but we have you instead, and I'm happy with either one of you.
Oh, all right. Wonderful. I'm
You're
glad.
both good. You're both unique.
Barking dogs. Maybe they were yapping because they were excited because I was co-hosting.
I think so.
You reckon?
So. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Well,
let's go ahead and welcome our special guest tonight, Eric. I hope I'm not going to mess up your name because I forgot to ask you before we went on. Is it Himan?
Hyman.
Hyman. Okay. Eric-Himan, Artist of the Year, Male Vocalist of the Year. Oklahoma loves Eric, and so do we.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be on the show.
Thank you for joining us. We're really happy to have you. So we were talking about the weather, and everybody wants to move somewhere else. So any listeners out there, I want a place to move that's nice and warm all year round. Give us a call at 718-506-1540. Press 1. But actually, I'd love you to call in and talk to Eric. So where do we start today?
I don't know. Just a little bit of background.
Yeah, like Eric, how did you get started in the business? Give us a little bit of a background on you, the performer, the artist.
I learned to play guitar when I was about 8 years old, and my dad was in the military. We traveled around a lot, lived in Hawaii and Florida and in New York, and so I got around quite a bit. And then I went to Penn State to get a degree in film, and I ended up bouncing around a lot, not being happy, and finally ended up, thankfully, with a degree in psychology, which is perfect for songwriting. And throughout that whole time, I was playing guitar and playing around Penn State, and then just started traveling. And this is about in 2001, 2002. And then I just traveled further and further out till I was playing the whole country, and then started putting out my own CDs and kind of blossomed from there. Very grassroots.
Well, you did a lot of touring, and you have won some awards, and Artist of the Year and Male Vocalist of the Year, as I mentioned. How did that all come about?
Well, I moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma in 2007. Before that, I just have been traveling around, and I got a few cool awards, like the Singer-Songwriter Awards in London, from entering a contest on sonicbids.com, and that turned out to be cool because then the prize was placement on TV. So I got to license my music to a few shows like The Real World, things like that, from MTV to it was really a great way to get into that. And then I moved to Oklahoma, and Tulsa's just been great. It's this music city that kind of gets taken for granted. And, it's big enough that you feel like you're really getting out there, but it's small enough to where you really get to know the people who kind of run the scene, whether it's the editors of the papers or the TV shows or things like that. So I just started playing out as much as I could, got a name for myself, and the Urban Tulsa Weekly, which is our big alternative paper, like the Village Voice kind of paper, they do an awards ceremony every year, and I ended up getting it the year after I moved here.
Wow, how exciting, especially to have
exciting.
your songs and that played on TV. I mean, my gosh, how did that feel?
Oh, my gosh, it was really neat to be able to do that. Those are the things that you kind of dream about when you first get started, but they seem worlds away. I recently was on Sirius XM, And that also just kind of came about in a random way. And, you know, you just never know where your music's going to end up. The only thing you can really do is get it out there. And once it's out there, you just hope that it finds the right ears.
Right.
Yeah, you know, Eric, I know that you have been featured on Sirius XM, the Coffeehouse radio station, and that's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, that is huge. I'm a Sirius XM subscriber myself, and I have actually listened to Coffeehouse before, and that's a great station that they have. And so kudos to you. I mean, that you know, the thing I love about Sirius is that they, you know, you're more inclined to hear a lot of indie artists being played on there, you know, and they play a lot of really good stuff that you don't hear anywhere else. So so I will definitely have to keep listening out. I hope that they're still featuring your music because it's great stuff.
Oh, yeah, they've been great about that. There's a song of mine called Save the Afternoon. That's kind of a slower song. And then I did a cover of Holding Back the Years, the Simply Red song, and that gets played on there quite a bit.
I've actually listened to Save the Afternoon when you were doing it with somebody else that was playing the piano. I'm sorry, I can't think of his name right now.
Oh, my friend Nominally Brennett.
Yeah, and then I also watched the live version of it, and that's a great song. That's a great song.
Oh, thank you.
I love it. The one thing I did notice on the live version while you were playing, I thought it was kind of funny that somebody opened up a door that creaked and you kind of looked that way.
Oh, yeah.
Does things like that throw you off at all?
They do. It's weird. When you're playing music, you know, especially music that you've been playing for quite a bit, where, you know, your mind, it's like anything you recite, you know, you get really good at it to where you kind of are on autopilot. You know, the emotion is there and you can focus, but at the same time, I always have these moments where my mind, I could be singing and playing, and in my mind I'm like, what song am I playing next?
Oh, no.
Or or what was that creaking noise? You know, but yet at the same time, like, and that's in the corner of my mind, I'm still playing and I'm still singing. But, yeah, sometimes things like that throw you off when you play, you know, big crowded, loud bars or places, you know, where a lot's going on or coffee shops. But you kind of, some of it you tune out, but if it gets to be too obnoxious, you have to point it out. And hopefully you and them have the same sense of humor about it.
That's funny. I just couldn't even imagine doing that.
There's a lot of distractions.
I often refer to that as multitasking of the mind because you know, you're still like, you know, in the background doing, you know, the visible, but in your mind, your mind, I tend to do that. I'm all over the map. You know, constantly my mind is always going. So I just refer to that. I don't refer to it as insanity, although other people may, but you know, that's how I process it anyway. Now let's talk about your DVD that's out, Under the Ink Live. How was that? What was that like making that? You know, is it different from actually recording an album?
Well, it's very different. Usually recording an album, like, you know, you go in the studio, you work with somebody and you come up with the songs and you just record them and that's the end of it. Doing a DVD is just completely different because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't even know if you can use it. So you just hope that everybody does what they're supposed to do and the outcome is really good, that you'll want to be able to use it and market it later on. But it's kind of scary because you just don't know. There's many times where I've recorded videos of live performances of myself, other people, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to put this up, and then you watch it back and the sound's funny or you didn't get quite the angle that you wanted to, and you're like, I can't even use this. So it's very nerve-wracking, and the fact that you're doing video, none of the videos or the camera people, which were great from Stillwater, Oklahoma, the camera people were great, but they weren't recording the sound. That was somebody separate. So it's their job to merge the recording of the sound with the video, and that, to me, is pretty hard. And then we had to do all the bumpers, you know, where I kind of explain the songs before they happen. So, you know, it's a process that I had never done before, but it's really cool to be able to have a DVD. And then I just released the live tracks, like the audio, as a separate CD. So it was really neat to just kind of figure out how to make that all work.
Well, when you're recording a live DVD like that, it's not like you can just go, cut, let's do this again, So I imagine, as I was just thinking about, the whole multitasking of the mind really comes into play because you're, if it were me, I'd be sitting there, the whole time worried about every single little thing being perfected, knowing that that's a one-shot take. You don't get a second shot, maybe in a different show, but not in that particular one. So, you almost have to deliver perfection on the first try, and no pressure whatsoever.
Right. None at all. We this summer, my band and I, we covered the music of Queen. We did a show, and it was a big endeavor because you can't just halfway cover Queen. You really have to deliver, or else people, their expectations are very high.
Right.
So we ended up doing that and recording some of it, and we recorded all the audio. And it was the same experience of, oh, my gosh, I hope this happens the way that it's supposed to. I hope everybody knows what they're doing. And, all you can do is rehearse and practice, and then it's showtime, and you just got to go with it.
What's your favorite Queen song?
I'd have to say it used to be Killer Queen until we did the show. And then performing, I really enjoy performing under pressure, because I get to be Freddie Mercury and David Bowie.
Both phenomenal singers.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that song is very recognizable and a lot of fun to sing. It's super high, but it gets to be a lot of fun.
Well, have you and your band, did you cover a Bohemian Rhapsody?
Oh yeah, we even had to pull in singers from the Tulsa Opera Choir, because I knew the Mamma Mia, like all those parts, we had to produce that live. We couldn't just fake it. Because I watched Queen when you watch the band Queen now, even in their performances when they have singers like Adam Lambert or different people that are heading them up, they get to those parts and they just play a video. They pipe it in instead of recreating it. And I thought, no, we have to recreate it. And it turned out really great, but everybody got into it in a big way. It was really fun.
That is so cool. Well, who are some other artists that you may have covered in your career?
I play a lot of events and bars and places, and I enjoy playing covers. I mean, I like my own music, of course, but I like to take something that's been done and kind of mold it to my voice or mold it to the way that I normally do things, and sometimes it happens on purpose and sometimes it just happens. But everything from songs like Tempted by Squeeze, I really love playing that song. Do you know that song?
I'm trying to think of it off the top of my head, but now I got Queen playing in my head.
There you go. Even recently, somebody asked me to do Christina Aguilera, and I've never really done a lot of that. So I kind of merged an Alex Clare song, that's Too Close, into her song Your Body. But normally I like, the Police. We cover big rock bands like Queen. I'm trying to think of other things. I love the 80s, I love Phil Collins, so I'm always up for singing a Phil Collins song.
Yeah, another good one.
You're pretty diverse, and I mean, you're kind of all over the map in terms of not only your musical ability, but what you're able to perform, and that gives you a lot more to offer an audience, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, and I feel like it gives you the variety to be able to be malleable to the situation. And many